Our topic today is strategies to use when pivoting to a new career field. This is a common occurrence when people have, academic programs that you've done, but where you see opportunities in different fields that are of interest to you. And the goal here is to figure out how to utilize the skills, experiences, and knowledge that you are gaining to position yourself for these new roles that are out there. So we're going to cover a sort of a range of approaches, a range of strategies, knowing obviously that we can't make it specific to everyone here. Everyone here probably has an interest in a certain field or a certain type of role. So this is going to give you a foundation and a structure to your approach. And obviously what we're going to do, what we would like you to do is to connect with us at Career Services so that you can get specific advice for your particular journey that you're on. I am Dr. Joseph Barber. I am the Director of Graduate Career Initiatives here at Penn's Career Services. First of all, it's an ongoing process. There are jobs yet to be created that you might be a really great fit for. And so, the process itself doesn't stop, but it's in general terms, a way of matching your skills and your experiences and your knowledge and your interests and your values to a role that's going to value you, right? So it's finding out different types of opportunities that are out there, finding out the skills that you have that you want to use, and finding out the interests that you have that you want to use, and then seeing where those can be situated in terms of different career fields and different industries as a whole. Now, even within a career field, consulting or academia, there are different genres of organizations and different types of roles. And so you can explore careers within a certain niche of industries or across all industries to find the one that's going to be a good fit for you. And in terms of exploration, what you're exploring obviously are the types of roles, but also the work-life balance and the salary you might get and the benefits and the geographical location that you want to be in, and all these things factor into your exploration. So we're going to touch on some of these aspects here today. The key thing is, I think, for this presentation is that we are talking about a transition to a specific field, right? So if you are at the process of exploring the options that are out there for you, so if you're just starting with your career exploration, then this presentation that I have here, which I also shared in the links that I put in the chat, this might be a good presentation to take a look at, because in this one, we walk through a little bit more the earlier stages of the exploration process, what to do to get started when you have no idea what options are out there for you, but you'd love to see, where the best fit is for you moving forward. Now that presentation does sort of walk you through this whole process of reflecting upon your own perspectives and your own interests, talking about how to sort of gather more information through networking, gaining experiences, and so forth. And these are all key aspects of the process that we're going to be touching on today. But what we're going to focus on is sort of this couple of slices of this process here, because the sort of the semi-assumption here is that you may be interested in a specific type of career field, right? So you're not exploring to see what all your options are. You have explored, you found an option that might be a good fit for you. Then what do you do, right? And so these are some of the questions that we can sort of cover today. What do you need to do to maximize the likelihood of you getting a role in this new career field? What additional insights do you need to be able to demonstrate that you have value for that field moving forward? Who can you talk to gain more insight into the different options that you have available to you? So this is going to be some networking there. How do you talk about yourself differently, right? So if you've been situated in a certain academic field and your experience is in a certain field, but you're moving into a new one, what types of language do you need to sort of explain how your skills are transferable and valuable? And then we'll talk a little bit about your sort of professional brand and what that looks like in terms of how you can subtly tweak that to sort of feel and look more engaging into a different career field that's out there. As I mentioned, as we go along, do feel free to throw questions in the chat as we go. I'm going to walk through this fairly quickly, so perhaps not walk, perhaps I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, but we're going to cover a lot of topics as we go through this. So step number one, I think, is an important aspect to do is a sort of a skills gap analysis to figure out what you have and to figure out what the roles that you're interested in or the industries that you're interested in, what they're looking for. Now, these are questions that I often pose in workshops about sort of skills, because I often feel that people don't spend a lot of time reflecting on all the things that that they do really well, all the great things about you. Academia is a very sort of critical environment. Critical feedback is great, but sometimes you just want positive feedback, and you can give yourself a lot of that positive feedback. So these are questions that I think are important because they set the foundation for what is important to you in terms of skills that you want to use, experiences that you want to have, interests that you want to pursue, and things that are sort of generally important to you. So we're not going to spend time going through these specifically today, but I do encourage you to sort of take the opportunity to go into some more detail with yourself or find a peer to sit down with and answer these questions. You'll find it very positive and very confidence building. And that's part of this process of transitioning to a new career path, is that you need to have confidence that your skills are applicable and that you have value to add. Now, Imagine PhD is a tool specifically for PhDs, but don't let that fool you, because some of the tools and resources within this free platform are actually really helpful for anyone, especially at the graduate level. And so there's lots that you can do here. And the thing that I'm going to focus on as an example is their skills assessment tool that you can sort of play around with, because it's a nice way of thinking about the skills that you do have in an easy to use manner. So if you go to Imagine PhD, again, the link to this is in the links that I shared. You can set up a free account. This is not Penn specific. This is free to everyone to use. And then once you've set up your account, go to the assessments tool, and you can see that there are 3 types of assessments that you can do. Values assessment, sort of what's important to you, interest assessment, what you're interested in doing, and a skills assessment, right? And these are fairly straightforward sort of approaches that you can use to sort of explore yourself, right? So this is an example of the skills assessment platform within Imagine PhD. And basically for the research and analysis set of skills, you can drag and drop these boxes into these, what is basically a Likert scale. I've never done this, so I can do this really well, right? So you take all of these skills and you drag them into these different boxes. And then, as you can see across the top here, there's a whole bunch of different skill sets that you can then do this for, so that you create this nice overview of your skills and where you are strongest and where things that you could gain more experience in. This is really helpful, right? Because it really sets the stage and really allows you to understand the value that you bring. And I think sometimes, as I said, there's not a lot of opportunity to reflect on all the skills that you do and have when you're in your academic program at Penn. But there's lots of things that will fall into that I can do this really well. And there'll be certainly things that you have yet to do or that you could gain more experience in. Now, what happens once you've done the skills assessment is that the Imagine PhD platform then compares your skills with paths commonly taken by, in this case, PhDs in the humanities and social sciences. So if your academic program skews towards the humanities and social sciences, this will be a great opportunity for you to explore some of these paths too. So they're basically doing the gap analysis for you, right? You've told them what your skills are and where you're strongest, and then they take these career paths and they demonstrate the sort of the fit between your skills and the role that you're going into. And this is going to be important because it's going to give you some actionable insight into how you can gain better skills, or how you can make sure that you're talking about your skills in an effective way. So in the top left here, we have marketing. You can see I have, this is my skill set. I have great matches between my skills and what experts in the field of communications, public relations, and marketing say is important when it comes to narrative and storytelling. In terms of consulting, I have a great match for persuading others, but that's the pentagram there, but the octagram, because I had to count all the stars to make sure I was getting the number right, says that I have a mismatch between my interest, in this case, with travel and what consulting is, right? So this is an interest comparison here, but you can see what it's doing is it's pointing out areas that may be a good fit and areas that may not be the best fit. If I jump in and look at the skills comparison, so again, writing, publishing, editing in the top left, and marketing now in the bottom right, I have great communication skills for the marketing one in the bottom right. So the pentagram shows me where I'm matching. And the one that I've identified with the arrow is the design skills. So if I really wanted to get into marketing, I say to myself right now that I don't really have strong software skills in terms of design, but the experts who work in this field say that's something that is important, right? So it doesn't mean that I can't go into this or I shouldn't go into this field, but it is giving me insight into where I might be able to sort of lean into my own professional development to make sure that I'm gaining those skills, or it gives me insight into the things that I do really well that are a good match, that I really want to make sure that I'm highlighting in my application materials, in my interviewing, in my networking, and so forth. So both bits of information are great, things that you do really well that are a great match, and things that you don't yet do so well that you can learn more. These are things that give you sort of actionable insights into what you can do to position yourself for maximum likely success of getting a role in this new career field that you're interested in. Now that tool was for, as I said, it was developed for PhDs in humanities and social sciences, but anyone can use it. For the the sciences and the biomedical sciences and the chemical sciences, there are similar tools. The MyIDP and the ChemIDP tools both have similar types of assessments that you can go through. Again, they may have originally been developed for the PhD population, postdoc population, but anyone can use these tools. They're free to access. But there's similar types of processes that you go through. You rank your skills. Some of these will feel slightly more scientific in the way that they are presented, but it's the same process of figuring out where your matches lie and how well you're connecting to the different roles that are out there. So there's a percentage match to different career paths that are commonly taken by scientists in the MyIDP tool. And then I can look, in this case, within science writing and see where there is a discrepancy between what I say are my skills and my interests and what those things actually look like in those fields. Great information to have and a really good solid foundation to start off with. And then this was my my list of careers that are out there, and hopefully the ones that, the paths that you are interested in are the ones that float higher to the top of this list. But it's okay if they don't, because there are many different types of roles and organizations that are likely to be a better match for the skills that you have. And that, there may be some more exploration that you need to do to make sure that you found those specific roles or those specific niches as you are doing your career exploration or continuing your career exploration. So this is your skills, right? We spend most of the time talking about the skills that you have right now. I think that's always going to be a solid foundation, because those are the things that you are marketing to employers moving forward, right? Those are things that you really want them to know that you have, but they're also the things that you can work on building if you need more. So that's how we can take our next step, which is to look at the skills that are necessary in the jobs itself. Now, I've picked two, as it turned out to be related career fields, but they're sort of arbitrary, right? I picked marketing and user experience. What you can do is to make sure that you are just using your keywords or your fields, but go through the same steps that I'm going to be talking about right now. So I'm just going to use these as examples to demonstrate the tools and the approaches that you can use. So obviously the first thing I want to do is, find out what types of skills are valued in the field that I'm going into. So that's simply for my approach, going to a jobs board like LinkedIn and looking at jobs that are in the same genre of types of jobs that you want. So same industry, same type of field, or, in this case, just using the word marketing to see what types of roles that are out there. Now, marketing is one of these broad terms. You can do it in many different types of career fields. So again, you can narrow it down based on what's interest to you. But I throw in marketing as a keyword, a copywriter and content marketing at Tech Elevator pops up. What I can do then is I can take a closer look at the job description. Now, in every job description, there's sort of two main parts to focus on. There are the responsibilities, what they want you to be doing in the job once you have it. And then there are sort of the requirements, the things that they need you to have coming into the role. And it's kind of important to sort of break these down, because you'll never have all of the things that you need to do the job, in terms of the responsibilities, because in many cases, you've never done that job before. And no job that you're going into is a sort of an exact match to the role, to all the experiences that you have. There's always learning opportunities and learning things that you need to learn to do well in that job. So you don't need to have everything there, but obviously you will have some of the things, and you want to make sure that you've identified the things that you do have. The required skills, you also don't need everything, but you kind of do need the things that they care about the most in terms of, what's important to the role. So it's important to sort of be aware of that. So I pulled from this job description some of the keywords that are out there. Some of them required, looking up to make sure I know, from my perspective, knew what they were. QA, quality assurance. CMS, I'm guessing, is a content management system. Drip templates, I didn't look up rather. But that's something I have no idea what it is, right? So there are terms that are going to be important to do some research in to figure out what they are. The required skills, some of those are broader skills, effective communication, things that are easy to do or that easy to demonstrate, organization. But then there are specifics, right? Like HubSpot and Zoho and WordPress that are technical platforms and tools that I should be aware of if I was interested in this type of role. So this is going to be important, right? We want to extract these types of keywords and skill sets and make sure that we're keeping a list of those moving forward so that we can assess those. Here's a UX researcher job as well at Meta. And I did the same thing. I sort of extracted from the job description the key things that are important. Again, they have responsibilities and they have qualifications, right? So two different categories of information that you can pull from here. Now, some of these responsibilities are fairly intangible. Actors or thought leaders. Like, I don't really know what that is, but I guess I can do that, right? So there are some things that still need a little bit more investigation to figure out exactly what they're trying to get at. working cross-functionally. We'll talk about that one in a second. And then in the qualifications, there are things that are more tangible. You need to be able to run focus groups. You need to be able to do usability testing. You need to be able to run customer insights assessments. So again, taking a stock of all these things, not just from one job like I'm doing here, but from a range of positions that are out there, especially from your preferred organizations or preferred career fields that you're interested in. Then what you can do is you can sort of do a matching up, right? You can put all the keywords that you find in a big column, and then you can identify, where your experience lies in all of these areas. Again, not to sort of say I can't do this or I shouldn't do this, but to give you a realistic understanding of where your strengths lie in terms of marketing or value, and where some of the areas are likely to be that in an interview, someone might say, I see that you don't have X. What about that? And then, once you know that that is a potential gap, you can be ready to answer a question about that allows you to sort of position yourself from a confident perspective of, I can learn that, or I've done something similar to that, or I've been taking a course on that, right? So you can anticipate some of the challenges up front and make sure that you're ready to address those head on. So this, again, is just an opportunity for you to figure out some of the next steps that you need. I either need to make sure that I've really communicated that I have these skills that I'm exceptional in, or I need to do some more work to gain skills that I have no experience in. Right, so one is marketing yourself in your materials and in interviews. One is sort of professional development, things that you can learn, continue to learn so that you have those skills moving forward. Now, you do need to do, as I said, some research to figure out what's going on. So working cross-functionally is a term that isn't an academically relevant term, it's not used in academia, put it that way, but it's used in many industries to mean somewhat different things. Ultimately, it's about working with different types of teams that have different functional areas associated with them. So research and marketing and different categories of roles within the organization. But what it actually looks like within a particular role or particular career field is going to be subtly different, right? The teams that are involved, the different functions that are involved are going to be different in biotech and pharma than they are in tech or in healthcare or anything associated with that. So you need to understand that, right? You can do research online. And what I'm going to point to is obviously, doing research with people who work in these roles and asking them, I see this term talked about a lot in the job description. What does cross-functional work mean to you? What does it look like to you, right? It's a fantastic networking question to ask people because it gives you the opportunity to hear the stories that they'll be telling and then sort of understand the nuanced aspects behind that. Now, that doesn't mean that you should in your resume say that you work cross-functionally, because I think it's a little bit of a stretch to sort of use that word exactly. Oftentimes we do say, make sure you're mimicking the words, but once you understand what it actually means, you can talk about it in a way that's going to be meaningful for your role from an academic perspective. So you can demonstrate what working cross-functionally looks like for you in your current role, even if you don't necessarily use the word cross-functional working, because it's a strange term. In terms of gaining new skills, one of the really great resource that Penn does offer all students, and I think all postdocs too, is access to LinkedIn Learning, right? So if you go to your LinkedIn profile in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the learning icon. When you log into this, you'll see that you should have your LinkedIn account should be associated with the University of Pennsylvania. To be honest, I don't know how this works and what steps need to go in to make that happen, because I did mine a long time ago. If you have any challenges with that, certainly you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to sort of point you in the right direction. But this should be something that you can do easily to gain access to LinkedIn Learning. And once you're in LinkedIn Learning, you can access a whole range of really great courses that are broad skills, like communication skills, that are very specific skills, like Python and C++, and even sort of industry fields, right? So I did a search for marketing here, and you can see there's a whole bunch of courses related to marketing that are going to be relevant if I wanted to move into that field in particular. Marketing is a great sort of resources. When I did UX, it's even more specific to sort of the career transition story, right? This last one here, planning a career in user experience for non-designers, right? These are almost developed for people who are making these career transitions. So no matter what the field is that you're going into, chances are there's a course or resources out there on LinkedIn Learning that you can access. Now, your LinkedIn Learning usually is only for people who have premium accounts on LinkedIn, which costs far too much money. So I'm definitely not recommending you spend any money. But if you are leaving, once you graduate from Penn, I think you lose your access to LinkedIn Learning. And so now is the time to really make sure that you're taking advantage of this as a great resource. So many things that are easy to do in your own time, just to give you a taste or dip your toes in some of these topic areas so that you can list the fact that you've taken this course on your resume, and you can answer a question on a topic in an interview, because you can say, I was actually just taking a course on LinkedIn Learning about that, and this is what I found so interesting about that field. So definitely take advantage of that as a tool moving forward. Other ways to research some of the sort of the foundational skills and understanding of different career fields that are out there. Through Career Services, you have access to the Vault library of industry guides here. So Vault, I think, was acquired recently by Firsthand, so you might see them listed as Firsthand eventually. But these cover sort of very broad industry areas that can be specific, and it's sort of a one-stop shop of getting up to speed on a different career field that's out there without having to surf around the web too much and get distracted by videos of kittens on YouTube. So here's an example of the marketing one, which does actually, again, include careers related to user experience as well. And as you go through this, you'll see that it has a snapshot of what the field is, or what the roles and responsibilities are, which will touch on some of the skills that you need to be successful in that role as well. So really great research, background research that you can do on any career field that you're interested in. And as I said, there are different guides that cover the majority of career fields and industries that you might be interested on the Career Services website. The link to that is in the chat, in the link of resources that's out there. I mentioned at the beginning that networking is also going to be a key aspect of what you're doing, because once you've done your background research, once you've answered some of the questions, you'll still have more questions about what it's actually like to work in a field that you've never worked in, or that you don't have a lot of experience in the past. And so one of your best approaches is obviously to make sure that you are connecting with people who have that experience. Maybe they've also transitioned from your field to this role, in which case they're a fantastic contact, or maybe they're just in that role and they've always been in that role, and they can give you insight into what they see as being an important skill, or what they see to be some of the challenges that you might face in that role. So no matter what the question that you have about a career field, the networking that you can do really gets to answer those specific questions, more so than just going into Google and saying, what's it like to work in marketing or user experience, right? You're going to get really great insight into that process. Now, the way to do that is, one of the ways to do that is to leverage LinkedIn again as a networking tool. And we're going to be covering some of the ways that you can use LinkedIn tomorrow in our sort of our networking session that we're doing, our networking day, making the most of networking. So I'm not going to go into too much detail in some of these things. I'm just going to give you enough to give you a sense of how you can use those, but do sign up to some of our other workshops on these topics as well. So on LinkedIn, if you go to the University of Pennsylvania school page, you will see there's an alumni tab along this horizontal bar here in green, and then you can search the entire sort of array of Penn alumni and current students who have LinkedIn profiles. And there's about 173,000 of those in this searchable sort of database, as it were. So all I did in this case was search for marketing as a keyword out of those 173,000, and there's 33,000 of those with different types of marketing in their background or in their current job description. And on the right is just an example of some of those people that are out there. So I can see their name, I can see the role that they have. I can't really see their actual employer in most cases, although Stephanie's working at L'Oreal, I can see there. So you might have to go into their profile to see where that is. I can also see when they graduated and what they graduated in. So you can narrow down this search of 33,000 by looking at their degree that they got from Penn. That's another way that you can use this database on LinkedIn. So that way it's people in marketing with a background similar to yours. And so that, that narrows it down to people who have great insight into this process that you might be able to gain from a conversation with them. It's also showing me how I'm connected with these people. So all these people that are listed here on the right are second degree connections, which means I'm not connected with them on LinkedIn right now, but I am connected with someone who is, their first degree connection. So I can reach out to Nicole because there are 5 people that I am directly connected with on LinkedIn who might be able to help me start that conversation, or might be able to help introduce me to Nicole. This is user experience. So I did the same thing, looked at the total 173,000, used the UX keyword, which is a nice keyword because it only really means one thing. About 2,500 alumni or current students who have this in their profile. And again, current students can be a great resource too, because these are students who may have internships at the organizations that you may be interested in, or who have other experiences that they are leveraging as they are looking for their own career start. They may be able to share some of the journeys that they've been on and some of the resources that they use. So if you're moving into a different career field, connecting with students who are already exploring that can be a great way of getting up to speed on some of the resources and tools that you can use. But again, lots of people with different types of user experience, with different types of backgrounds. Most of these here, again, are secondary connections, so I could certainly begin to reach out to them if I wanted to, by leveraging the contacts that I already have. Even just name dropping, I could say, hi Ting, great to see you on LinkedIn. I saw that you're doing this. We both share this person in common. Maybe I spoke with our contact in common and they recommended that I reach out to you. So I could say, hi Ting, we know this person in common. They suggested I reach out to you. You'd be a great contact for talking about X, right? And that's going to sort of increase the likelihood that Ting would actually respond to me and be willing to have that conversation with me. So LinkedIn, a great tool to do that. As part of your process then of engaging with these people, your goal is not to connect with them upfront, right? They don't know you, you don't know them. Your goal is to find a way to interact with them, to have a conversation, to learn from their experience, their lived experience, learn from their knowledge of this career field or a particular organization so that you can be better positioned to apply for that. So what you're trying to do is just listen to them, talk about their experiences in their role, listen to them highlight the skills that they think are critical to that role, listen to them talk about the challenges that they face in that role. Maybe those are challenges that you face in different roles that you can sort of highlight in your own materials or in your own interviewing process. These are really great bits of information that you can draw from these conversations. And it's not about having someone, if I reach out to Ting and I'm not asking her to refer me to a role or pass on my resume because Ting doesn't know me. It's a process of getting to know someone and really authentically valuing what they share and their own experience, because what they share will be something that you can actually use when you apply in your resume, in your cover letter, in your interviewing answers, for the roles that you're interested in. So don't see it as a means to an end in terms of I'm going to make this connection so that I can get a referral to this role. See it as a way to make a connection and build relationships with people in the field that you're going into so that they can potentially be advocates for you moving forward, right? Because they would be maybe happy to advocate for you if they knew who you are and what value you would bring. So listen to their stories. It's a really, really helpful way of understanding their journey and how their journey can help you. Basically, it's what we call informational interviews, right? So informational interviews are these one-on-one engagements that you find with people who are doing the thing that you want to do or that you think you want to do and learning from their experience doing that. We have a very easy to read guide on our website. I'll put the links again in the chat for the resources that we have the list of links from this presentation can be accessed from the links that I just put in the chat there for you, including this guide here. So do take advantage of that as a way to sort of explore your options moving forward. The next thing to do as you're thinking about the transition is to really understand the landscape of the employers in the field that you're interested in. The landscape is not just where they are and who they are. It's the sort of how they differ from one another. What's the sort of what's it like in a big organization or a small organization, understanding the culture of the organizations. Lots of ways to sort of think about understanding the field as a whole. You may have geographical preferences that you want to make sure that you are sort of, sticking with. And so knowing who the players are in terms of the employers in a certain geographical region is also part of the process that you can use. And there's a couple of tools that are sort of suitable for this. Before I jump into those, just a reminder though that it can get overwhelming as you are exploring, right? As you are looking at all these options that are out there, all these jobs that you're coming across. I strongly recommend coming up with your own version of an Excel spreadsheet where you can capture all of this information, right? So there may be different paths that you're interested in. I have consulting and data and tech and nonprofits here as my sheets. Excuse me. And then you can begin to list employers and what you find out about different roles and the contacts that you're making and the skills that you'll be needing in these situations. And it makes it much easier just to keep track and not become overwhelmed when you have a database to do that with. So I strongly recommend creating your own version. I mean, this is just a mock-up of what that looks like, because it will help you stay in control and on track of things and feel much more comfortable as you're going through this process. So on LinkedIn, one of the ways that you can do a sort of a assessment of the landscape of an industry is to do a company search. So if you do a company search on LinkedIn, you can narrow it down by geographical region. You can narrow it down by industry. So again, in this one, I've chosen marketing and advertising. And you can even narrow it down by the size of the organization. So you may not care how big or small it is, but you may also want to work in a type of organization, a mid-size or a startup or large. You may have preferences around that. So this list of employers here are all the ones that fall into these categories. And as I was looking for this, I mean, the greater Philadelphia area is fairly broad. We have Delaware and we have Maryland here. And then there was Dallas, Texas, which didn't feel like it was in the greater Philadelphia area. So I did have to take a look at Thrive on their profile page on LinkedIn, and they do have locations in Philadelphia. So obviously that's why they're included here. And I was glad it wasn't just a mistake in that case, or a suburb of Philadelphia that I didn't realize existed. Seer Interactive also has, as you can see on the left-hand side, 2 people from your company were hired here. So that gives you the opportunity then to go, oh, well, I have potential connections here. So I took that over to the alumni database. I did a search for the employer of Seer Interactive, and out of that came 2 alumni. Andrea here is a creative manager at Seer Interactive, just been in that role for the last year or so. So a Penn alumna, someone who might be a potential contact if you're interested in learning more about this organization, all sort of encompassed within the LinkedIn environment, so it's easy to see and easy to access. So really easy to sort of begin to gather this information and position yourself as someone who understands the landscapes of these organizations. Now, there's another tool that we have called CareerShift, and probably the best way of doing this, as opposed to just doing slides, is to jump in and do a real-time version of this. So CareerShift you can access from our website. It's one of the resources that we pay at Career Services so that you have free access to. I did a search for it. It takes you to the resource page. I click on this. It takes you to our online subscriptions page. This is where you sign in and create your free account. I already have an account, so I can just go straight here. And I'm just going to walk through not everything that that CareerShift does, but just a few things that are related to sort of understanding the landscape of industries, because there's more to this than just what I'm showing you. It's actually a great tool for keeping track of your job search process and keeping track of your networking. So you can expand on it. But I'm going to go to companies first, and I'm going to go to the search tab here. And what I'm going to search for is marketing as a field, advertising and marketing. Then I'm going to do a sort of a location search. Maybe I want to work in Illinois and in the greater Chicago area. Then I can do an advanced search, and I can look at things like whether the companies are Fortune 100 or Fortune 500. I can look at their annual revenue. I can look at their company size. So I'm going to say minimum company size of 20 here. And then I can do a search for all of this. And so that gives me about 3,000 or so agencies that fall into this category. And I can save all these things. I can save the search to have it for later. I can save it to a particular folder if I want to sort of make sure that I'm, so if I select a few firms and I'm interested in them, I can save them to a folder and name it as advertising in Chicago type things. So a great way to sort of keep you organized as you're doing this search. But 3,000 is a lot, and I certainly don't think you want to go through a whole list of 3,000. So again, think about keywords that are relevant to your search. If we did health as a keyword, so health then brings out 53 employers, which is a much more manageable number. Ritz Communications, so I can click on this. Number of employees is 22, so it's above our threshold of 20. And they're making 4.4 million in terms of their annual revenue. And then I can look at company contacts here. And the great thing about CareerShift, I don't know how they do it, but it's fantastic, is oftentimes you'll find email addresses for anyone who works at these organizations. And so, you can see their role, you can see their email address, you can even go into more details about the person. You click on their profile, load up their full details, and you get a background of information that they've shared, things that they posted on the web. It's kind of creepy, but useful. And so you can do a lot of background research to figure out what people are and who they are. I would never tell anyone that you've done background research to them on CareerShift because they will have no idea what it is. That's for your insight, but this is just information that you can glean as part of your search for that. So CareerShift, a great resource that you want to sort of take advantage of going through this process. Now, based on all this research, there are things that you can be doing to make sure that you are reflecting what you've learned as you are positioning yourself for the new roles that are out there. So this comes to this idea of updating your brand so that people know that you're connected with this field. And it's not just you saying that you want to go in this field, but you can make clear connections about the value that you bring to a new career field that you're going into. So that does mean looking at your LinkedIn profile, right? It means thinking about what insights that you're sharing about yourself. Does it seem like you are connected to the role that you're applying to? You know, people say that you should dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So kind of that's the same thing that you're doing with your overall brand itself. So if you're deciding if you go into the tech field, then making sure that your profile, your headline, your about section has a tech component to it, I think is going to be important. So the headline that comes under your name, that's sort of oftentimes what people leave just to be their current role. So it could be a PhD in history, or it could be a postdoc in the in the biomedical sciences. Oftentimes that just tells people what you are right now. And I think, especially as you're making a career transition, you want to make sure that that reflects the transferable aspects of your professional identity, the things that you bring with you no matter what you're doing, so that they become more transferable. And you can throw in keywords that are relevant, right? With a engaging communicator with a passion for marketing, right? You can sort of throw in those keywords to make that feel more connected to you. It just has to be an authentic version of yourself, but it can be a forward-looking one as well. The about section is also an area where you can sort of change your narrative over time. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. And probably as you are doing research into people's different profiles on LinkedIn, you will sort of get illustrations of how people have talked about themselves within the fields that they're in. And you can borrow some of that language and make it your own language as you're thinking about your narrative. So don't try to sort of instantly change from who you are right now to who you want to be. Make it a sort of an iterative process, but begin to integrate different themes and narratives into your brand so that it becomes more evident from the casual reader's perspective that you're not only wanting this thing, but that you have some connection with it as well. Now, some of the things that you can also do on LinkedIn is sort of engage with the subject matter, right? So this is a thing that popped up in my feed the other day, Medical Affairs Professional Society talking about their resources for medical affairs, looking to get involved with the growing medical affairs community. Check out these opportunities, right? So there's a thing that I could actually do just by looking at my posts on LinkedIn. I can follow this organization. Following is important. It means I get more posts from that organization into my feed, which is going to help me be better, have better understanding of who they are and what they do. But I can also engage with it, right? I can have the opportunity to like, to comment, to share, and to send on to people in my network. So let's take a quick look at this. So Jennifer here commented on this subject. And she liked it. And what that gives Jennifer is 3 mentions on the feed when I'm looking at it, right? Right at the top, it says she commented, and then I see that she liked it. So I see her name again. And then down the bottom, I see her photo, her name, and her role, and her comment. So that's 3 mentions just for engaging with this topic on LinkedIn and being active with it. And what that means from my perspective is, in my brain, there is now a connection between Jennifer and medical affairs, right? Just because her name is associated with it basically 3 times with this topic area. So you can do the same thing. As posts are shared on LinkedIn relevant to the field that you're going into, if you connect and share, follow them and share them and comment on them and like them, you are going to increase your connection with that theme. And that's going to be helpful because then people will begin to associate that with you. People in your growing network will see that you are engaging in that theme. So you're sort of just shifting your attention to this new field that you're going into. That can be really helpful. As I said, you can follow organizations on LinkedIn. Following them primarily means that when you go to your feed on LinkedIn, you get more posts from this organization, which means you will know more about the organization, have more familiarity with what they do, which means that you'll be a better networker when you're connecting with people from those organizations and better able to sort of illustrate why you want to work at a particular organization should you be in an interview for that. So lots of value there. But it's also just, it makes sense, right? So if I'm a recruiter and you apply for a job and I go to your LinkedIn profile, but I see no engagement with my organization, you don't follow it, you haven't commented on anything, then I may be less convinced that you really want to work for my organization as opposed to just wanting a job in marketing or user experience. So because these things that you're following are part of your profile, they are accessible to recruiters on their profile. They are they are a sort of a search filterable criteria that recruiters can potentially use to narrow down the people that they may be reaching out to, or that they may be sorting through when you're applying for a job if you apply through LinkedIn, right? So being strategic, follow those organizations that you are interested in applying to. You can certainly unfollow them at some point if you're no longer interested in it, but follow them up front, I think it's going to be very helpful. And as I said, once you follow them, I follow Deloitte. Deloitte post comes up into my feed, and there's an opportunity to be the first to comment on a general topic, even if you're just in support or just sharing it or whatever that looks like. A wonderful opportunity to really make sure that you are connecting with them and engaging with them in meaningful ways. Again, the goal here is to associate your brand with that organization or with that career field. And if you're not active on LinkedIn doing that, then no one will know that you have an engagement or are interested in it. So a really important thing to do. A lot of this is sort of passive networking, right? So it doesn't take much to share an article or to follow an employer, but it does have a knock-on effect over time. The more that you can do this early on, the more you sort of benefit you get from it. So here's an article. The link's going to be in the link of links that I shared in the chat. But this will be something that you can take a look at just to illustrate how important this is as a foundational part of your professional and career development. Other things that you can do, small things, but still important things. So you do want to go onto Handshake, and you do want to click on your profile, your photo in the top right-hand corner, go to the career interest section, and make sure that you've updated the industries that are of interest to you. By doing this, Handshake will send you more opportunities. Handshake will alert you to employers that have info sessions that are in the sort of career field that you're interested in. And we will have a better sense of who we can share information to when we have information given to us by employers, right? So sometimes an employer reaches out saying, we have this great opportunity, can you share this? We try not to share this with the entire graduate population, but we may do an industry search and say, people who said that they're interested in X should get this email. So if you're interested in any of these things, you can go in, update those. If you're no longer interested, you can unclick it and you won't get that information. But I would say, make sure that you've gone in and updated that to make sure you're not missing out on some of these opportunities that are being shared. On our website, you can do something similar. So go to the Career Services website. You can sign into the website with your pen key and password, and then you'll be able to click on your profile in the top right-hand corner, and you'll see that there's a preferences option here. And under preferences, there are industry communities as well. And so this will change the information that you get in the weekly newsletter that comes out, so that you are aware of career fairs, information sessions, jobs, and other resources that we may have added to our website that are connected to these areas. So lots to sort of make sure that you're updating as you are positioning yourself for new types of opportunities that are out there.